It doesn't matter how fast you can play it, as long as there's expression to it and it's musical, that's the only thing that matters. The way I see it is like, it's music in the purest form. If you obsess about how the musical line is shaped, then before you even realize it, the notes are already there. Not gonna lie, the weather in Melbourne's been so good lately. This is just like the perfect combination of the cold breeze, but it's still sunny. Oh my god. What you're seeing here is a spit of a brass player in the wild. They just practice here, spit on the floor and get out. And most brass players, they obviously say,
oh, it's not spit, it's condensation.
Yeah, why don't you drink it then?
But anyway, as I was saying, I practiced late yesterday. And so I went home at 12. I finished practicing at 11:30 and now I'm back. It's currently 7 p.m. I am about to leave to Germany in about 3 days. So I still have a lot of things to practice. But today we'll be practicing my favorite, or one of my favorites, Bach. Mr. Johann Sebastian Bach. So this will be my view for today. Got the good old Boston here. The reason why I'm going is so that I can get lessons from a number of different professors. The thing I find significance in that is that obviously a lot of like classical repertoire is German. And I feel like there's something from German pedagogy that I can't gain from just staying in Australia, if that makes sense. That's not any disrespect to any professors that are here, because there are a lot of professors that studied in Germany and came to Australia. But just like the environment is different, and you know, I always want to challenge myself. So that being said, with my Germany trip coming up, I already had an online lesson with a professor from Berlin, and we were going through a Bach Prelude and Fugue that I was playing, which I'll be practicing right now. For those of you who already play piano and that have already played Bach, you know that as pianists, we have to focus on more than one musical line. So at least two, or since it's a fugue, like 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes. Although all of us know this in our heads, it's like easier said than done. So what this professor from Berlin was telling me is that I should be consciously thinking about all 3 lines of my voice and phrase at the same time. And although I knew this, he was listening to me play, and then if I was losing focus of just one voice out of 3, he would just tell me to stop and then try again, which I thought was crazy because the standard, you know, it's so high. So basically today I'm going to be working on that, and instead of the prelude, I want to start with the fugue. And for people that might not know what a fugue is, it's basically like a Baroque sonata. So just like sonatas, they have 3 different sections, and with Bach especially, it's always the subject first, and then the counter subject, or like the introduction of the second voice, and then introduction of third voice, and then third, fourth, and so on. So what I mean by the subject is the first musical line that Bach always opens with. So in this case, it's Fugue number 7, book 1. The subject would be And Bach writes this all throughout the piece, and it doesn't have to be in the same key as well. So for example, in bar 3 of the left hand, we have the answer. And now, to take this a step further, I'm going to sound a little bit crazy, but I'm gonna have to try and sing the musical line. Because since piano is such a binary instrument to some degree, it's always like you either play or you don't play, like it's down and up. To have more nuance to the musical sound, we want to make our goal to always imitate the human voice, you know, like for example, Chopin's favorite instrument was the human voice. Because if you just play like, you know, that's just too dull and too shallow. So reflecting on my online lesson with the Berlin professor, and the point that I want to bring out is that the way it's written, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But instead of da 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 da, I want to express it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'll show you what I mean. So if I do that with the main subject, I have to do that all throughout the piece. To be thinking about 3 different musical lines with only 2 hands and 1 brain, you know, this is why I have to practice every day. Since I'm just gonna be warming up, I'm gonna be playing it slowly for now. Now, even just up to there, there's just so much going on. For example, in bar 4, you'll notice that there's actually no subject. So you don't hear the da 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 da. It's just. Right? And we call this an episode, just like a transitional section that moves on to the next subject. So although it's structurally not that important, which means you don't have to bring out one specific voice, it still needs to be phrased properly. So what I mean is, and the reason why this is hard is because when you hold a note on piano, the natural tendency, just because of the mechanism of this instrument, the note decays. So if there's a long held note within one voice, it's not really acceptable to do. You can't really bang the note, right? Because true legato means the sound is connected. So you need to listen to the decay of the note and then match the next one to where that decay is, not where the original note was. Okay, I can do that with 1 hand, but now can I do that with 2 hands? Yeah, and then what does the left hand have there? We have this moving bass kind of line. Boom, 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 dum, boom. And then boom, boom, boom. And just, you know, kind of use your imagination. How many moving parts are there in just the left hand alone? You could focus on the top notes, which is. Let's try an exercise. I'll bring out the right hand phrase, but focus on the left hand bottom note. So this. Try and see if you can hear it. You know, isn't this so great? I get to practice my voicings, and at the same time, you guys get to train your ears. One more time and let's move on. Dum, bum, 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 dum, bum, bum, bum. It shouldn't really be. Right? The bum, 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 bum. And then right hand. Oh, that's so hard. Again, the right hand top note is held, so that means the voice actually goes 2, 3, 4. Rather than, right? So the B flat in bar 8, you have to anticipate that it just came off of a held middle note. 1 and 2 and. So it can't be 1 and 2 and. Right? And really interesting here. In bar 12, it actually switches. So in bar 7, left hand had do, 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 bum, bum. And then now bar 12, right hand has, right? It's so good. Okay, here. Do you remember where we heard this from? I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. Yes, in bar 4. I think my whole life, when I was just practicing Bach since I was in like primary school, I would just try so hard and have a hardcore approach of just learning the notes without really understanding what's happening. And then, I don't know, like 10 years later, now I'm finally figuring out how to listen to myself and how to listen to the music. People don't call Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven, these kind of people, geniuses for no reason. Like, just because they were born in the 1600s, don't make them barbarians or something. It's really, really elegant music. I believe it's up to the pianist to make it elegant. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, remember, I decided to do da, 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 da. When I have that again in bar 26, I should try and play it properly, actually. Here, in bar 22, I personally find the right hand really difficult because if I play the two separate voices with two hands, it's that, right? But what's happening in the bottom voice, the second voice, is it actually diminuendos towards the end of the phrase. But in bar 23, the top voice, it's actually pretty loud. While the bottom voice is going down, I need to have the top voice going up at the same time, but with one hand. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and also another thing is that just because you know this in your head, you want to phrase the voices in a certain way, that doesn't mean you should force yourself into the note. Like, yes, I said the pianist needs to make the music elegant, but it doesn't really happen by, you know, like... Like, if you just relax your shoulders a little bit and then trust your weight into the piano and then trust Bach's notes, actually, then half of the phrasing is actually done for you. So just trust the music, baby. Did you hear that, by the way? I wasn't focusing on my left hand, so I missed the notes. Let's try it again. This probably has to be my favorite ending to a fugue ever, because you have the two E flats in the bass and the soprano just ringing out, right? And then the alto voice And then the tenor voice goes, right? Oh. And then all that together, I'll just exaggerate it so you can hear what I'm trying to say. Now, in my opinion, Bach is so fundamental to music itself. The way I see it is like it's music in the purest form, right? It's a bit like cheesy, but essentially what music is, even if you think about like jazz or pop music, you have different instruments, or think about an orchestra is the best example. You have different instruments playing different things and it's shaped individually according to their musical lines. But if you put it all together, it still somehow works. The fluctuation of phrasing and dynamics going loud to soft, but that happening in a nuanced way in all the voices at the same time, and it moves like, you know, like waves. That's what creates good music. And until I was quite old, actually, I didn't really truly understand that. So if there's any young pianists or young musicians that are watching this, I want you to try and prioritize phrasing and your musical expression. The expression only you can make through that music, not someone else, not some recording you heard. You know, don't try to copy that. The way you express it should be the organic feeling that you have of when you first heard it. Like, don't worry about notes too much, because if you focus on expression first, then the notes will just follow. No matter how difficult it is, even if it's like a Chopin etude. If you obsess about how the musical line is shaped, then before you even realize it, the notes are already there. Now, this prelude is also pretty hard. It's like Bach's expression of the organ on the piano. And obviously, the organ, if you press the notes, it will ring forever. But since it doesn't work like that, as we just discussed on the piano, he has a bunch of pedal notes. So for example, the opening sounds like... This is one thing to think about. Another thing is that there's a common notion that you should play Bach very conservatively. And I don't think that's the case, because when I talk to really experienced pianists about it, I'm talking about like pianists that have been performing for like 30 plus years. If you compare this modern day piano instruments to like an F1 car and piano that Bach had to like a, I don't know, local taxi. If you have all of the equipment necessary to make your car fast, why not use all of it? Isn't it kind of stupid to buy an F1 car and only drive it at like 20 kilometers per hour? So don't kill the capability of the instrument. If you can shape it as long as it doesn't sound like too romantic. Now, there's a few different sections within this prelude alone, but from bar 10, we have this like very holy chorale moment. And the most difficult part about this section is that you need to know which notes are which voices very, very clearly. Otherwise, it's not going to make musical sense. For example, I think it's most obvious in the top voice. Bar 21, we have the first voice and the second voice very, very close to each other, which means it's going to be risky in terms of making it sound different. Right? As long as you have the top voices in your head, it won't actually sound too bad. If you're not conscious about it, and if you're not fully aware of the notes, it's probably going to sound like the first voice goes from C to, right? Which is not true. It's the last thing I want to talk about is the harmony. And you don't have to analyze harmony perfectly, like theoretically, but just think about how it makes you feel. Like if it goes to major to minor, obviously that's a very big change in terms of mood. So just kind of acknowledge that you feel that way and then show it in your expression. We are going from bar 60. That was perfect. Sorry to riz you up like that, like in the middle of my passage. But I was trying to kind of like exaggerating a little bit too much to show you what I mean by the harmony change, right? Like for example, this. This is not a major third actually, because he writes G flat, so it's a diminished fourth over, you know, it's painful and then resolves into so just feel it. I hope this was very informative. I'm not making these videos to kind of show off what I know, but I struggled with expressing myself through the piano since I was in high school, and piano to me has always been how technically you can play, how fast you can play something. Whereas now that I'm trying to prepare for master studies in Germany, I've already shifted my perspective like 180 degrees to it doesn't matter how fast you can play it. Even if you play it something really, really slowly, as long as there's expression to it and it's musical, that's the only thing that matters. So I hope you try and incorporate this into your practice. Maybe I could have influenced you a tiny bit to kind of change your perspective on how you view practice and music on the piano. If you like this video and you want to learn more, or you just want to track my progress as a pianist, please subscribe and please leave a like. If you stayed until the end of the video, I love you.